Okay, this is the manual from E&D Automotive, and today I'm going to give you guys some quick tips on how to remove the power steering rack on a 2000 Mercury Sable. So first thing you want to do is disconnect the battery negative terminal. The second thing you want to do is get inside the car and remove the cover for the steering column. There are three 11 millimeter nuts on there, and then there is a 10 millimeter bolt that will hold it onto the rack. Then you would come outside and jack the car up, put it on jack stands, use a lift, whatever you got to do to get it up in the air, and get the tires off. Remove the tie rod ends, which should be the same on both sides. 18 millimeter nut, hit it with a hammer, get it out loose. Do the same thing on both sides. Then you want to remove your intake. You do not have enough room to work on this power steering rack just because it's right against the firewall. So remove the intake, all the lines that go to it, all the plugs, disconnect all the wires, disconnect your EGR valve, and that gives you more room to get back to it. Second thing you want to do is remove the two 8 millimeter bolts that are in the back of the steering rack. They hold the power steering cooler. So one would go here and one here. The easiest way I found to get them out is use a 3/8 ratchet with a stubby 8 millimeter and a swivel head. And here's where you could use an extra set of hands. You would go through the back of the firewall and have the other person underneath the vehicle position you onto that bolt. And you got to repeat the process for both bolts. That way you get the cooler loose. Then you would be using an 18 millimeter box wrench to remove the two lines that are over here. That will take a while, but that is probably the worst part of the job. So after you get that removed, you would be coming underneath to remove the power steering rack bolts. They have some channels that lock them in place. So I've seen people trying to get it out from the top. You will not be able to. You cannot put a socket on and just spin them. So you would have to get them from the bottom. There will be two 24 millimeter nuts. One of them is right here, right over here, and then the other one would be right above this exhaust. So I used an impact for this one. You can do it by hand, obviously, breaker bar, and then 24 millimeter socket. And then for this one I used a 24 millimeter box wrench with a piece of exhaust pipe so I can use it for leverage. Once you're done with that, use a hammer and pop the pins out. Smack them with a chisel, and they should pop out through the top. You can, climb up here and grab them. Then the power steering rack itself will have to come out the driver's side. Well, in order to do that, there's not enough room for the shaft to come out. It will hit the frame right here at the top. So you would want to push the brake lines up out of your way a little bit for more room, and then use an 18 millimeter to drop the cradle down about an inch. But you have to do that on both sides. One 18 millimeter there and one 18 millimeter here. So the thing will just sag about an inch and a half. Then you'll have enough room to just pull it out through. And just repeat the process backwards. And I would say you can have this job done in about 2.5 to 3 hours. Please share and subscribe.